Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a short but powerful text, we stack it against its context, and we pull out those knowledge nuggets you need to be truly well-informed.
And today, we're diving into the fine art of resistance.
Yes, specifically, the really genius way people find a reason not to listen, no matter how the truth is presented to them.
We're looking at a passage from the Gospel of Matthew.
Right, Matthew chapter 11, verses 16 through 19. And the context is this late Advent period, Friday, December 12th. The theme really gets to the heart of it. Wisdom justified. The refusal to listen.
That's so good.
Okay, let's unpack this. Jesus is basically giving this direct, and you can almost feel the frustration, this assessment of the people around him.
Absolutely. The core problem he's hitting on isn't the message itself, either his or John the Baptist's.
No, it's the sheer unwillingness of the audience to accept the call, no matter what form it takes.
That is the crux of it. I mean, it's a very harsh critique. He's exasperated with this spiritual and intellectual inconsistency.
Yeah.
This isn't some gentle parable.
He's calling them out.
He is. So our mission today is to really analyze this double bind that Jesus presents, these contradictory criticisms against two polar opposite messengers.
And what does that pattern tell us about how we, even now, cook up reasons to resist truths that make us uncomfortable?
Exactly. When a truth demands that we change.
So let's jump in with that initial imagery because it is so striking. He asks, "To what shall I compare this generation?"
And the answer is, it is like children sitting in the marketplaces.
Children in a marketplace. I mean, right away, that feels a little insulting.
Oh, it's entirely insulting, but it's also incredibly illustrative. You have to think about the setting, the marketplace, the agora.
That was the center of everything.
Right. It's the center of adult life, commerce, politics, serious debate. It's where mature things happened.
So by comparing them to children in that serious place,
You're pointing out their immaturity, their spiritual and intellectual immaturity. They're in the right place, but they're acting like capricious kids. They're just focused on play.
and refusing to play.
Well, yes, refusing to play by anyone else's rules. That's the key. They're sitting on the sidelines, spiritually checked out.
And the analogy gets even tighter when he describes the two scenarios, the two games they refuse to play.
It does. It shows they've just completely closed the door to participating at all.
Okay, so scenario one is about joy. We played the flute for you and you did not dance. This is the invitation to celebrate, to join the good news.
And it was rejected. Just arms crossed, sitting there.
Then he flips it completely. Scenario two is sorrow.
We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. A dirge is a funeral song, a lament.
So this is the call to repent, to get serious, to acknowledge sin and the need for a deep change.
And again, just total silence, total refusal.
So this is the critical insight then. It's not that they dislike a specific activity, it's that they reject the very role of being a participant.
Exactly. It's a premeditated refusal to engage. Doesn't matter what tune you play. Call them to be happy. They say no. Call them to be serious.
They still say no. It's this ultimate intellectual deadlock. They're just determined to stay in their comfortable, inactive state.
But that's a good point to raise. I mean, couldn't this just be a matter of taste? Maybe they just didn't like the music.
Right, are we reading malice into it when it's just preference?
I think that's a fair challenge,
Yeah.
but Jesus immediately closes that door. He shifts from this abstract analogy of children to,
To concrete, real-world examples.
yes, to John the Baptist and himself. And he shows the refusal wasn't about preference. It was about finding an excuse.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. He points the finger at two people they all knew and shows how they used completely opposite criteria to dismiss both of them.
Let's start with John the Baptist.
The ultimate ascetic.
He really was. The text says he came neither eating nor drinking. Now that's shorthand for just extreme austerity. Living in the wild, camel hair clothes, locusts, and honey.
I mean, for anyone demanding spiritual seriousness like the Pharisees, he should have been the perfect messenger.
He should have been their guy. He was rigorous, disciplined, totally separate from worldly things.
But what was their response?
They said, he has a demon.
Which is not a mild insult.
Not at all. In that culture, that's an absolute final rejection. It means you're insane, you're outside of God's blessing, you're dangerous.
So the very thing that proved his rigor was twisted into proof of his madness.
Exactly. So if that's how they treat the extreme ascetic, surely they'd welcome the opposite, right?
You would think. So now we get to the second figure, the Son of Man, Jesus himself. He came eating and drinking.
Meaning he was sociable, he was integrated into the community, attending weddings, having dinner with people,
Living a normal life.
a normal, engaged life. And of course, they found a way to reject him too. The accusation was vicious.
Look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me, because that's not just a personal attack on his diet.
No, it's so much deeper. Calling him a glutton and a drunkard wasn't just, saying he liked a good meal. It was a serious theological accusation.
How so?
It was often linked to sloth, to being lax, to failing to follow Mosaic law properly.
And the second part is even more damning.
The friend of tax collectors and sinners? I mean, tax collectors were collaborators with Rome. They were seen as traitors, religiously impure.
So, in that world, you are who you hang out with.
Precisely. For the religious leaders, associating with those people wasn't just breaking a social rule. It was defying the entire accepted framework of what holiness even looked like.
So the people created this perfect double bind, an impossible trap.
Exactly. If the messenger is strict and austere, he's insane. If the messenger is social and engaged,
He's dangerously sinful.
it's the ultimate display of hypocrisy. They had already decided they didn't want the message, and then they just worked backwards to invent the perfect excuse to justify it.
They weren't looking for a reason to listen. They were hunting for an excuse to dismiss.
And you see this intellectual deadlock all the time, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about any major difficult issue today that requires change.
Right. If a messenger comes from, say, academia, with rigorous data and complex models, what do people say?
Oh, they're in an ivory tower. They're crazy ideologues. They don't know the real world. Basically, he has a demon.
And what if the messenger is a grassroots activist? Someone passionate, practical, speaking plainly.
Then they're unpolished, populist, lacking rigor, or they're friends with the wrong kind of people.
It's the same pattern. The core message that change is needed is completely avoided by just attacking the messenger's style.
Which reveals the real failure here. The listeners weren't looking for a legitimate messenger. They were looking for an excuse to dismiss the call itself.
Exactly. What's so fascinating is that Jesus essentially validates both methods,
Yeah.
John's austerity and his own sociability. He's saying the method was never the real issue.
The real issue is the message.
The message, repent, the kingdom is here.
Yeah.
Because that meant they had to give up their spiritual laziness, their passivity.
And it raises that powerful question for us. How often do we use the appearance of discernment?
Oh, I only listen to people with credentials. Or I only listen to people who are down to earth.
When really it's just a mask for our unwillingness to actually engage with a challenging truth.
We are the children in the marketplace all over again, refusing to dance and refusing to mourn. We put our own comfort ahead of any kind of conversion.
Which brings us to the final line. The conclusion of his statement that just reframes the whole argument.
Yet wisdom is justified by her deeds.
It's such a powerful pivot.
It really is. And it's a declaration of independence from public opinion. When he says wisdom, Sophia, he's personifying the divine plan itself, the truth that's being revealed through both him and John.
So he's saying, you can judge us however you want.
Yes. You can judge the messenger by their diet or their friends, call John crazy, call me a hedonist. But the true measure, the thing that will last,
Is the results, the deeds.
the verifiable results. The true worth of wisdom is proven by the evidence, by the transformative outcomes it produces in the people who actually do listen.
So it shifts the focus completely. It moves from the subjective, fickle opinions of the critics.
To the objective, measurable evidence of reality.
You can complain about the messenger's style, but if their teaching actually changes lives for the better, that is the deed that justifies the wisdom.
The results make the critiques irrelevant. It's a final, quiet, but devastating warning. History will be written by the actions of those who said yes, not by the insults of those who said no. The deeds always outlast the dialogue.
So what does this all mean? I think the final takeaway for you listening has to be this. Stop focusing so much on the style of the messenger.
The flute or dirge, the eating or drinking.
Yeah, and start looking at the evidence, the fruit, the lasting effect. If the consequences of a teaching are genuinely good and transformative, then maybe the messenger's perceived flaws are just a distraction.
To kind of synthesize the whole deep dive then, first, we saw this very human tendency to create these intellectual deadlocks, these contradictory reasons to avoid change.
Right. Then second, we looked at that contrast between the two messengers, the austere and the sociable, and saw that style really doesn't matter when the audience is determined to resist.
And third, and I think most powerfully, we have this ultimate authority of wisdom's deeds over what is, in the end, just fleeting public opinion.
Which leaves us with a final question to think about. What significant constructive deeds of truth are happening around you right now
In technology, social reform, maybe even in your own family.
that you might be tempted to dismiss just because you don't like the messenger style or their tone or the company they keep?
It's a call to look past the superficial.
And focus on the fruit, a powerful challenge.
Indeed, it demands real humility.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope this analysis gives you some tools to look past the packaging and engage directly with the message. Keep exploring the evidence, and we'll see you next time.